week 2 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few tight ends I looked at off the wire this week. The first one, Isaiah Likely of the Baltimore Ravens. He might be the hottest pickup all week in fantasy football is Isaiah Likely. So they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets with this Raven team. But Isaiah Likely just kept getting open, especially in that second half of that game at the opener at the Kansas City Chiefs. 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown on 12 targets. And obviously that game came down to a toe tap, where if he had the toe in, Isaiah Likely, he would have finished with 10 catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Likely, he's a big prospect coming out of college the last couple of years. Last season, when Andrews was out with injury, he was showing flashes and had some big ball games. And now this Raven team, I don't think they could deny targeting Likely, and he's going to be in there a lot in 2 tight end sets, like I said. And just the way they run this offense in different formations. So right now, while Likely's out there in 72% of fantasy leagues, and most likely, no pun intended, isn't going to be available after this week in less than 50% of fantasy leagues. He's an ad this week. He's a big play, tight end. Yards after catch, we saw it in week 1 at the Chiefs. We had a long touchdown in that ball game. And him and Lamar Jackson definitely have a good rapport after last season. He got a lot of playing time. Next tight end is Chig Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans. Okonkwo showed some flashes a couple seasons ago, but last year he didn't do much. In week 1, 2 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown at the Bears. So Okonkwo, big target at the tight end position. He could run the routes. He could line up inside, outside at times if you need him to. And Will Levis, a young quarterback, even though he definitely struggled in week 1. You know, a young quarterback's best friend and security blanket is the tight end. So this week, it's not a great week at the tight end position to kick off week 1. So Okonkwo, I understand if he's only a deeper league ad, but like I said, there's not much out there in 50% or under in fantasy league. So Okonkwo, after coming off a touchdown and maybe someone to take a flyer on, he's available in 90% of fantasy leagues. Next tight end, Mike Gesicki, Cincinnati Bengals. So Mike Gesicki, he had a touchdown called back in the week 1 ball game. Is Gesicki after they thought he had it, but he dropped it. Available 96% of fantasy leagues. And he finished in week 1 in that upset loss versus the Patriots. 3 catches, 18 yards. So Gesicki, he had some flashes over the last couple seasons. When he was with the Dolphins last year, it was just a down year in that New England Patriot offense where they couldn't move the football at all. And I think with the Cincinnati Bengal team, we could see some decent games here and there from Gesicki. He's more of a deeper league ad. Like I said, available 96% of fantasy leagues. He's a big red zone target. And a couple years ago with the Miami Dolphins, he had a pretty solid year. So right now, deeper leagues with someone who's a starting tight end, and I think even after this week, he'll still be available in about 90% of fantasy leagues. I would go out there and get Gesicki this week in deep 14-team leagues, a deep. And next tight end, Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. I know the Saints have a lot of guys that can play the tight end position. Forster Monroe, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, plays everywhere, but they qualify him as a tight end and quarterback in fantasy football. And right now, Juwan Johnson came off a touchdown ball game, and Forster Monroe had a touchdown as well. 47-10 trouncing the Saints put on the Carolina Panthers. So week 1, 2 catches, 26 yards and a touchdown. Forster Monroe had a touchdown as well for this New Orleans Saints team, but he left the ball game in concussion protocol. And week 2, we most likely will be the starting tight end is Juwan Johnson versus the Dallas Cowboys. So Juwan Johnson, many years he's been a big red zone threat, but yards have been an issue. He's been a touchdown-dependent tight end. So right now with a tough matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys, but I think he can help fantasy owners, is Juwan Johnson in deeper leagues, and he's available in 97% of fantasy league. Final tight end I looked at off the wall is Hayden Hurst of Los Angeles Chargers. So this Charger team has Will Disley and Hayden Hurst as the top 2 tight ends. And Justin Herbert, I know wasn't a great game in week 1, but he's still a quarterback that could get the football down the field and make plays. And Hayden Hurst, we've seen some decent years and flashes out of him, but now this season he's playing with one of the better quarterbacks he's played with throughout his NFL career. So week 1, Hayden Hurst, he didn't see much. 2 catches, 33 yards on 3 targets. But like I said, tight end, it's not the deepest of position. I'm giving some options for fantasy owners of tight ends who are starters out there. So right now available 99% of fantasy leagues. There's not much going on in this passing game besides Lab McConkey, who we saw have a good week 1 NFL debut for this Los Angeles Charger team. And like I said, he's playing with Justin Herbert, who's a solid quarterback. So I think Hayden Hurst in deeper leagues could have some pickup appeal. That's a few tight ends I looked at off the wire for week 2 of the fantasy football season.